Hello there, this is James Scroft, he knows 1978, and how did a series of videos that I made in response to the atrocity in Atlanta last month evolve into a final video in which I call out the abuse, harassment, objectification and sexualization of female and femme-presenting dancers and other content creators online? Because as a straight, middle-aged, cis-white man who's been supporting such creators here on YouTube for more than a decade, I've seen how the kind of self-righteous entitlement that led the Atlanta terrorists to buy a gun and drive all over Atlanta for the express purpose of murdering as many Asian women as possible, and then to tell the police that they were a temptation that he wanted to eliminate, is exactly the same kind of self-righteous entitlement that women, girls and femme-presenting individuals have to put up with every moment of every day, and most especially here online, where anonymity combined with the conceit that it's just the internet, so it's not really real, gives men a perceived license to be even bigger creeps than they would ever dare to be in real life.
Most men that have interacted with me online seem to feel entitled to me in some way, and I'm much more selective with who I speak to online now because of these experiences. Even when I'd done nothing but accept their requests, some men would message me and claim me. Like, they would just message and say, "You're mine now." Excuse me? Who are you? Some men used to blow up my DMs whenever I replied to any man or boy who commented on my posts. We weren't dating or even flirtatious. I wasn't anyway, but they would still get so angry and jealous, and I used to get really scared because this started when I was 15. It would have started earlier, but I didn't have internet before then, and I looked way younger. I still looked 12 years old in photos that were taken when I was 18, so a lot of pedophiles would talk to me thinking that I was a little kid.
After all, no matter how much we try to deny it because we're afraid that accepting reality will mean admitting that we're bad people and having to give up our privilege, hurting our feelings and leaving us worse off, we still live in a patriarchal culture in which women are still primarily assumed to exist for the benefit of men, in which a woman being conventionally attractive and treating us with anything warmer than curt dismissiveness is perceived as an invitation to flirt with and hit on them. And here online as well, even decades after the internet became a global phenomenon open to everyone with access to the necessary technology, the subconscious assumption among far too many straight white cis men is still that this is our space, that it exists primarily for our benefit, and that therefore, just as in real life, any attractive woman who ventures into our domain is like the stripper in our birthday cake, actively seeking our attention, because even if they're not actually on a dating or pornographic website, what other possible reason could they have for being online than to find a boyfriend or to offer us lewd and or adult content?
And then, of course, there's the unsolicited selfies, sometimes even unsolicited nude pictures. It's almost always older men, like late 30s and over, who just add you and send pictures, and then they're like, "Nah, you send one." And they're never happy with, "I have plenty on my profile. Look at them." They think I'm just gonna drop what I'm doing to take pictures to send some random man who just added me. And everyone always wants to meet up with me. Why? It creeps me the heck out when guys are like, "Hey, you're only 3 hours away by train. I could get there tomorrow if you want." And I'm like, "No, who are you?" I haven't told anyone the city I live in for years because of this. Some random guy literally moved country to be in the same town as me after only knowing me for a few months. I told him I moved to another country and then he moved there too. I never moved. I just said that so he would be further away from me.
And no, stop. Before you insist that you have never and would never do anything so disgusting, let alone go as far as the Atlanta terrorist, #NotAllMen, the very fact that we think that it's all about us and our feelings, that we're not the bad guy, so we're not a part of the problem, and women should stop making us feel bad and realise that we're the good ones who will defend them from the evil, bad and nasty men, is precisely the kind of self self-righteousness that I mentioned earlier. Having always done my utmost to not be like the other men who I saw in the comment sections of dance videos and other content uploaded by young women, teenage girls, and other femme-presenting individuals, doing everything possible to treat them with respect, I used to get so defensive and feel so hurt when people just assumed that I was a creepy pervert anyway, who was merely pretending to be decent in order to lull them into a false sense of security, until I realised that just as is the case in real life, that's a perfectly rational assumption, because it's up to us, collectively as men, to stop being creeps and apologising for and dismissing creepiness, not up to women and girls to put themselves at risk simply to avoid hurting our feelings. So just as is the case when working to prevent sexual assault, rape and harassment in real life, the first step in being part of the solution is to leave our defensiveness at the door, because far too often, whether we realise it or not, when a woman, girl or femme-presenting individual who we find attractive uploads a video on the internet, particularly if it's a dance video, which as I explained in part 3 of this series, Lindsay Underbar, far too many people still conflate with a striptease or other kind of sexual enticement, our first instinct is to quote-unquote compliment her on how gorgeous and amazing she is, hoping that flattery will buy us attention, kind words, and eventually sex. I know this because I'm ashamed to admit that I've been guilty of it myself in the past, lulling myself into the fantasy of believing that because a woman who I find attractive uploaded a video, liked my comments and replied to me warmly, that must mean that she genuinely likes and is interested in me. And while I've never fallen down the rabbit hole of unwanted attention, harassment and abuse that has been described in this video and other women, girls and femme-presenting individuals who I know are too afraid to talk about publicly, the very fact that we all set foot on that slippery slope is in itself the problem. So as I indicated earlier, just as the key to dealing with the endemic problem of sexual harassment, abuse, assault and rape in our societies is for all straight cis men, yes, including us, to get over ourselves and realise that women's lives do not revolve around us, that just as a woman being nice to us is not an invitation for us to hit on them in real life, any time that we find ourselves falling into the fantasy of imagining that a woman, girl, or femme-presenting individual who simply uploaded a video on the internet is looking for that kind of attention, we should all imagine that she is saying this.
I'm sorry for the way you feel. I'm sorry for any indication I ever gave you that I consider you anything more than a friend. And I am so sorry for what I have to do now. Because now, I have to crush whatever it is in you that made you do what you just did. I am going to have to hurt you very, very badly. But believe me, Craig, it's for your own good. Number 1, no to everything you just said. No to what you're thinking. No to everything you dream. No to your what-ifs. No to every single fantasy, wish, dream, and elaborate scenario that involves the two of us. No, no, no! Number 2. Ow! Remember that pain. Whenever a thought creeps into your head wondering if there's anything more to the hello I gave you in the morning, you remember that pain. You have no future with me. You have nothing with me.
Because, my dudes, the difference between someone to whom we're attracted uploading videos because they love to dance, sing, play an instrument, have something to say or what have you, and want to share that with the rest of the world, and actively seeking our attention, is measured in light years. Whatever makes you think that anyone in the world would ever be interested in seeing an unsolicited picture of your penis could not possibly be more wrong.
Stop it. Get some help.
While there is technically a possibility of them being interested in you as well, and your fairy tale ending with you both living happily ever after, in the same way that there's technically a possibility of next week's lottery numbers being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you'd honestly have a better chance of becoming president, prime minister, or what have you of your own country If she were offering lewd and or adult content, then she'd have a link to her OnlyFans or other adult services in her profile. And no, such a link is not a license for you to go after, harass, abuse, or objectify them either. Because even when they are offering such products and or services, women and femme-presenting individuals are still human beings who are only there to sell you something, not to be sex dolled for you to project all of your frustrations and fantasies onto, like the Atlanta terrorists did.